Oh,
Hello, Chris.
hi.
How's the audio sounding?
Pretty good. How do I sound?
Just fantastic. Oh, I love all those things behind you. The little Reddit guy and
Hmm.
oh, that's all Spock down there. Oh,
All
heck
sorts of
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
hmm Let me just pull my questions up real quick. And also, I appreciate you so much for doing this so quickly too.
Well, if I didn't do it now, I'd probably get lost in the shuffle. I'm in the middle of a lot of
Yeah,
projects,
I
as you can
imagine.
tell.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. So, good afternoon. Um, Could you please give me like a brief introduction of who you are and like an overview of what it is that you're doing?
Hmm. My name is Chris Rutkowski. I'm a science writer, and for a number of years, I've been specializing in writing about the phenomenon of UFOs or UAP, as they're known now. And I have been extensively researching and investigating and writing about UFO reports, doing statistical analyses, and engaging with other people involved in ufology and with the general public, trying to convey what's really going on.
Awesome. What sparked your interest in the UFO phenomenon?
Well, it dates back quite a few years. I
Mhm.
started investigating UFOs back in the 1970s, so am very, very old. Um, and back then, there were a lot of UFOs that were being reported across Canada. And when I started university in the mid 70s, there were a lot of phone calls to the astronomy department asking about UFOs, people wanting to report them. And my astronomy professors were very, very uninterested in the subject, a little annoyed actually.
Mhm.
And when the call came in one time when I was with my professor in his office, um, he expressed some disgust, and I said, "Well, why don't you just give the phone calls to me? I'll take them for you," thinking I could get on his good side. And that started it.
I imagine it's a lot different now with like the whole disclosure thing. The just like the lens, like it's changed a lot over the past like it's been like 50 years. Like some people are taking a little more seriously now.
Well, I would say scientists are taking the subject a lot more seriously. Uh, um, Scientists are in general, scientific community in general is writing about it, publishing papers in the peer-reviewed journals, discussing them in conferences, and certainly with what's happening in the United States with congressional interest from well as caused by a lot of lobbyists. That there is a lot more interest in this subject. I would quibble that there really isn't any disclosure going on at all,
Mhm.
and that despite that, the number of UFO reports is actually not increasing whatsoever. The interest is certainly there, but the number of reports certainly hasn't increased.
Do you think it's a good thing what David Grush is doing? Like trying to like get ahead of it and in the Congress and try to bring some light to it? Do you think that's actually helping, or is it kind of just muddying the waters?
I think the waters are were muddy to begin with, but they're
Mm,
certainly muddier now. Um, David Grush has not provided any concrete evidence of any of his claims. There's certainly many interesting claims, but nothing that would, again, I go back to what scientists are talking about. The scientific community needs data, and right now we still don't have the data. So claims that there are crash saucers and 40 whistleblowers and bits of alien bodies and that type of thing. Those are great stories, but I have to say they were old stories at the time I began investigating and studying UFOs back in the 1970s.
mm.
Those stories have been around since the 1940s. In fact, during the contactee era of the 1950s into the 60s, these stories were quite elaborate and more frequent, and to be quite honest, a little more interesting. But what's happened is that a lot of people in influential positions are taking these stories quite seriously, even though there really is no evidence to support them. So I would say that the waters continue to be very, very muddy indeed.
hmm why is the Roswell incident such an iconic event in ufology history?
I think the Roswell incident is viewed as the incident because, first of all, it happened on American soil shortly after the Second World War. It occurred in an area which was very sensitive. White Sands was, a nuclear testing facility. Operation Paperclip had brought a lot of the German scientists to the United States to work on the United States program. The movie Oppenheimer is testament to how important this entire area was at the time. So I think the focus on that particular area lent itself to some interesting stories. And at the time, when the Roswell incident supposedly occurred, there was this flap or wave of UFO reports starting in June 24th, 1947, after Kenneth Arnold had reported seeing some objects in the sky. There were actually saucer watches going on throughout North America, including in a number of Canadian cities,
Oh wow.
where individuals would be on the roofs of buildings in downtown Toronto, Winnipeg, Vancouver, looking for flying saucers. And because of that feeling right across North America, the possibility that as a saucer had actually crashed
Mm,
and was found was immediately riveting, and the media certainly compounded this interest. So I think that's one of the lightning rods that really made the Roswell incident so interesting, and the fact that the Americans supposedly had possession
yeah.
of a crash saucer really made it all the more interesting.
It is suspected that the debris and remains from the Roswell crash were brought to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Why do you think that we have yet to see any evidence of this? And is there any truth to that, you think?
Well, I admit that I'm not an expert in the Roswell crash. I
Yeah.
really focus on the Canadian
Mhm.
phenomena. But in conversations with my colleagues, um, while there's a lot of claims that the material was brought to Wright-Patterson, again, we don't have any evidence. In fact, the Roswell case is unique in the fact that it's not a UFO case at all, that the United States government refuses to acknowledge
Mhm.
that anything occurred. Um, there was no UFO or flying saucer sighting directly affiliated with the debris that was found. It was sort of assumed that this is from that, and of course, the debris itself has been debated, whether it was parts of a mogul balloon or some other military material, but nothing associated with a UFO. So there's a lot of assumptions as to
Mhm.
what had really occurred. In fact, the United States government had a press conference, in which case I think it was on the 8th of July, where they said they have the debris, they have these bits of flying saucers where they put on display this flimsy material that was supposedly the remains, but some individual had seen the actual debris debated whether that was it or not. So the entire thing, is couched in mystery. Unfortunately, a lot of the individuals who had seen the material firsthand have now passed on. We have no documentation. There's not a single document that's been recognized officially that says that such an event occurred. So we're really behind the eight ball in trying to understand what occurred, and yet the mythology around the Roswell incident really lends itself to a lot of the conspiracy theories. It lends itself to a lot of the belief systems that people have, and the possibility that some of this material was taken to Wright-Patterson, which is where material might have been brought
Mhm.
if anything had been located, is consistent with our understanding of what the function of what was going on at Wright-Patterson was involved with. And there's been endless numbers of movies and TV shows about what was really going on at Wright-Patterson.
Mhm. After nearly a century since the incident, is there anything in particular that you would like to, come out and be like uncovered or revealed? Perhaps like anyone who's still alive on their deathbed, if they were just to let out this last final secret, is there anything in particular you would like to, get the juicy details on?
Well, I'd certainly like the details, absolutely. If
Hmm.
something occurred, I'd like to know what happened. If somebody was a first-hand witness to what happened and what was recovered and who grabbed the material and scurried it away, and maybe if there's um, verifiable provenance of how the material was obtained, stored, analyzed, and passed along, and eventually stored again, and where it might be today, I'd be all ears. I'd be fascinated to know more about this. But
Mhm.
at this point, it's a fascinating story, and it's assumed to have occurred by most people involved in the UFO field, but we still don't have any hard evidence, and
Mhm.
that's what people are looking for. That's what people are searching for. The fact that there's a museum in Roswell, there's tours, there's conferences, there's people who comb the desert sands in the area, literally using combs in some cases, trying to find bits and orts of things.
Mhm.
Um, Suggests that it really is part of our culture. It's an interesting sociological phenomenon. In fact, if
Oh, I think you just froze. Oh no.
our wishes and our hope for humanity.
Mm.
So I think there's a lot of reasons why people would be fascinated with the entire Roswell story.
Why has the UFO phenomenon amassed such a large following? Does it have anything to do with religion, or is it kind of on its own side? Or like, do you
Hmm.
think they kind of link together, or?
I've written about this several times. Yeah, there's a book called Reframing the Debate, which came out 3 or 4 years ago, in which I wrote a chapter called Alien on My Shoulder, which I describe UFOs as a belief in UFOs as a religion, not
Mm.
ordinary belief in UFOs, but UFO zealotry, people who are so involved into the conspiracy theories, and they hold to the belief that the aliens are here as saviors, omnipotent beings, that there's a government conspiracy. In some cases, the government is working in cahoots with the aliens and so forth. It's a very, very strong belief system. And as people who are in sociology and in religion no, it's very hard and difficult to change one's belief system once it's held. In fact, it's almost immutable. This applies to everything from ufology to things like political beliefs. Um, and once you hold on to something, your belief system won't be shaken no matter what. So I think people who are so deeply involved in the UFO phenomenon that they believe that they perhaps go on UFO sighting expeditions every week and claim they see things. They take multiple photographs of UFOs practically every night. They attend all conferences. They watch endless YouTube videos and so forth. That even some that are very, very dubious in nature and
Mhm.
have been proven to be hoaxes, even when such phenomena and such videos and photos have been proven hoaxes, that won't shake their beliefs whatsoever. So in those cases, I think that ufology is in a lot of ways a religion and should be considered as such.